Hello everybody and welcome back to Season 37 of PSGL PSF2 Split, powered by GT Omega. We are back after a break week last week. It felt like so long being, just 1 week without some ultimate PSGL league racing action, but we are back, and it's a circuit that could throw out some very interesting variables as we wait for Lag 2 to load in, slightly delayed before everybody else. It is of course the Spanish Grand Prix, the Circuit de Barcelona, potentially one of the last times we could see this track in PSGL league racing, with Madrid circuit soon coming in to replace it on the calendar. But I have to say, since they reverted to that old layout and got rid of the horrendous final chicane introduced in 2007, it has certainly improved the racing and made it considerably nicer to drive, and I think we could be in for another excellent race, if I do say so myself. The first 3 rounds of this season have been spectacular, and hopefully we can see more of the same. We do have a lot of admin to go through in the early stages of our qualifying session, it has to be said, because we've got some stuff to catch up on. Of course, you can see the big thing here is we've finally got the F1 24 cars in. No more running of the F1 World cars, which is a little bit of a shame in the sense that we can't necessarily joke around and have a bit of fun with the nicknames that we managed to come up with for all of the cars. No more Pink Panther for ET8 Paul, no more also the Alien Clan either. We can have some good fun. Something that hasn't changed is we are still having collisions off, so the slipstreaming is completely abolished, which will be music to the ears of some people. We will have to do a lobby restart at some point. I say at some point, once qualifying has finished. Virtual commentary box, before we get into the admin stuff, it is a solo job, unfortunately. Well, unfortunately, it's a nice bit of fun. Myself, Tom, this week, some unfortunate extenuating circumstances coming in late, meaning that it is a solo job. We've got a lot of familiar faces, as you would expect, and whilst we have Matthias going round for their first flying lap of the session, let's go through the talking points from a couple of weeks ago, because if anybody remembers back to Austria, it was a barnstorming race, I have to say. It was Talesborough who crossed the line first, but, and this is the big but, there was a collision earlier on going into turn number 1 with even Nye, which sent the driver that ended up finishing 5th round. Both drivers lost time, even I coming off considerably worse. It has resulted in a post-race penalty, so that epic finish we saw between Talesborough and Casper Flack, who were drag racing up towards the line through the final couple of corners, incredible to watch. Didn't really mean a lot, because Casper Flack ended up picking up the victory. He was 56 milliseconds behind Talesborough over the line. Ends up, 5 seconds minus 56 milliseconds as Talesborough drops down into 8th place with that post-race penalty. Unfortunate, Moustache and Marius Formula end up completing the places on the podium. And it means that in the drivers' standings, it is those 3 that lead their way, and they've got a little bit of a gap to the cars behind. Moustache finished on the podium in every race so far. Matthias Purple in the middle sector, Will the Williams just behind. Beat it? No, they won't. I think that is Sapala just behind. Moustache leading the way, 6 points clear of Marius Formula. Both drivers with a win and a 3rd. The only difference with Moustache having a 2nd last week in Austria, and Marius Formula having a 5th, round number 2 in Miami. And then a further 5 points back is Casper Flack, 2nd and 1st in the last couple of rounds, as Matthias opens up with a 1:11.6, and that is immediately eclipsed by Moustache, who we were just talking about a moment ago, championship leader, into the 11.4s. Yasser Saki sat just behind in 3rd on a 1:11.7. We'll go on board with Talesborough coming around the final corner, and does go fastest. Very competitive opening lap there, has to be said. 1:11.2. We're delighted to get going as Owen. First time we're seeing Owen in the Aston Martin. 2 milliseconds clear of ASRT Christian, who was another driver that could have picked up a decent haul of points, it has to be said, last week. Who else should we look for? Marius Formula in the McLaren. Whilst we go through that, just to round out the top 10 in the stands is Jan in 4th, who is not here this week, still as a reserve. Nico, Nordic Ninja, ET8 Paul, even Nye, TRT Zane, and then Spanias rounding out our top 10. Marius Formula slots into 8th place there, 1:11.5. Little cluster of drivers there on the 1:11.5s. Vasquez has jumped up in between the 2 Red Bulls. It's a Red Bull sort of 1-2-3 with Vasquez in the RB sat just between them on a 1:11.3. Just over a tenth separating 1st and 2nd at the moment, 15 times on the board. 2 drivers still in the pits, that being Casper Flack and Diogo Silva. Lakitu and Darth FIFA currently on their outlaps. Darth FIFA, someone that we need to talk about, yet to pick up a point this season, but has been incredibly unlucky, it has to be said. The gods very much not with the driver currently in the Kick Sauber car. And they'll be hoping that we've had a break week, weren't racing last week, they can come back, reset, and hopefully get back to business, because the pace from Dartford has been very strong. Would have qualified nicely in Silverstone, but got caught out by, I believe it was ET8 Paul going up towards Stoke Corner. Had collisions in the last couple of races as well that knocked them out of contention. And we are going to ride on board with a Kick Sauber, the bright lime green car running down into turn number 1. Got to try and avoid the sausage curve. Bit of a lock-up on the inside. And then you're just flowing through turns 2 and through the very long turn number 3. Tyres going to get very hot in the race. You would imagine, especially if they're soft tyres, keeping all the way over to the right and then braking on the curve down to turn number 4. Got to be really committed. Purple first sector. Bit of a wobble there on the exit. That's going to lose a couple of tenths potentially. Managed to keep it on the straight and narrow down into turn number 5. Very easy to lock up that left front just because of the camber you're approaching the corner at. Then to the fast chicane of 7 and 8. Got to be careful with these curves, especially this massive sausage curve that just lures you in on the outside there. Flat through turn 9, you would expect, especially in qualifying, they're going to be flat out, and then you're just pulling gears up towards the newer section of the track, turn number 10. It used to be that second gear corner, I think it was. You can still see it on the inside now. A lot more flowing, can carry a little bit more speed, and it flows nicely actually into turns 11 and 12, and then into the fantastic sequence of the final couple of corners, getting rid of that horrible chicane. You can see it on the right hand side there. We don't like that chicane at all. But a nice lap from Dartford, a couple of mistakes in there through the midway point, only an 11.7, but with the time that was lost going up into turn number 4, the little wobble, there's definitely time on the board for Dartford to make up. But half a second to Talesborough, maybe a little bit concerned by that. Casper Flack will be hoping for a decent flying lap to get them on the board in the Aston Martin. Strangely enough, was in the McLaren Esports liveried car for the first 3 rounds of this season, so hopefully I don't get caught out by that. Someone's trying to mess with me there. Coming up to the second sector split, though, you want to be in the mid 50 seconds. That's a low 50.3 purple middle sector. Can't necessarily trust that too much, but coming around these final couple of corners, there should be a competitive time for Casper Flack, who has really been hitting his stride in the last couple of races. Retired technically in Silverstone round number 1 because of a disconnection, couldn't get back into the lobby, but since then a second and a first. Now pulling gears up to the line, does pop up into second place, 111.3, just under a tenth off the benchmark time currently held by Talesborough. Just waiting for Diogo Silva, who currently is resigning in the pits in that Ferrari car, the one and only Ferrari that we've got at the moment. Problem for Lacatu potentially on their flying lap as well, going again because they found 2.5 seconds in the first sector. Car number 6 in the Alpine. We'll see if there's a big improvement here. It was Casper Flack on a 50.3. 50.5 isn't too bad for Lacatu. Will probably be contesting maybe around those top 10 places, maybe just outside the likes of 11.6. Maybe we've got 3 drivers on a 1.11.6, Matthias Spanias and even Nye. So potentially going to match their Alpine teammate round the final corner. Got to be so committed, but very brave as well, because the track limits are going to suck you in 11th, 17th only with a 111.7 for Lacatu. Will be a little bit disappointed there with only Sipala further back in the Williams on a 12.0. Really got to be in the mid 11s to be competitive at this stage, but the first runs are completed. And we're going to be getting ready to go once more with Talesborough leading the way, just over a tenth. I got that wrong. My maths wasn't mathsing a few moments ago. There is just over a tenth of a second between Talesborough and Casper Flack. Vasquez had found 600ths through the first sector. Now coming up towards turn 9, can we continue to find some time in the middle sector for this RB car? Moustache has popped up into second, 111.3. ASR Christian also 111.3. Vasquez continuing to find time, about 15 milliseconds found in that middle sector there. Got actually exactly the same time as ASRT Christian, as the times are coming in swiftly now. ET8 Paul now takes over second place, with Nico and the Mercedes slotting in just behind. Big Aguilar cars have just come over the line. Vasquez ERS light flashing at the back of the car. That could be a bit concerning. Not concerning at all. Found over a tenth in the final sector, and that is the first driver into the 111.1s, and Marius Formula goes onto the front row provisionally as well in that McLaren 11.2, eclipsing the time set by Talesborough early on. We've had the 2 Hatters improve. Carlitos sat just inside the top 10, same time as Spanias, 111.427. Zane just outside. A couple of cars in the pits. What can you ask this Aki do? Well, being 9/10 down through sector 1 is not going to do you a great deal. What about Sipala? Hasn't improved on their 12.0 and is still struggling in that first sector. So top 5 looking a little bit different. It's now Vasquez who leads the way ahead of Marius Forward. Talesborough hasn't set their second flying lap of the session. Was that the Red Bull that's just been released out there? Maybe. Can we see them in the top left-hand corner? Talesborough coming out. We'll flick to the onboard if it is. Maybe not. They must still be in the garage, although I can't see them. Interesting. ETA Paul currently in 4th. Red Bull 2-3 with Nico sat in P5. So it's a Marius Stormer that's managed to disturb 3 of the 4 Red Bull cars, locking out the front 3 spaces. Nico with a good lap as well to get ahead of championship leader Moustache. Casper Flack will be going for their second flying lap in about a minute or so. A bit of a wobble there on the outlap going down the hill into turn number 5. SRT, Christian Spanes and Carlitos Spanes in a bit of a Haas sandwich there with Zane and Owen also on the 111.4s, sat just outside the top 10 there in 11th and 12th. You can see that Carlitos actually invalidated on their in lap, I'm presuming that was. Darth FIFA going again in the kick Sauber, just managed to pick them up at the start of their second flying lap of the session. Time probably in the middle sector for the driver in the lime green and black car. Over the Delta split we go. Oh, 2.5 tenths found, but a bit of a wobble, and you can see the puff of tyre smoke that just came up from that kick Sauber car. So maybe a little bit of time. Another lock up into turn 5. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of those, like we saw into turn number 3 of Silverstone, if you can remember all those weeks ago back to round number 1. Got to keep it neat and tidy. It's not perfect, has to be said for Darth FIFA, but decent enough. Should be looking to find, well, got to find at least 3 or 4 tenths on this second flying lap of the session to be challenging inside the top 10. How are we doing? 2.5 tenths, so match the middle sector that was set on their personal best so far of a 1:11.7, so maybe a little bit concerning. Should be inside the 1 minute 11.4, so if they can continue. Final sector, it's a very short final sector of course, and not a lot of braking you have to do. In fact, I don't think there's any braking at all. Over the line we go. It is a 1:11.4 just outside the top 10 behind Spanish and Carlitos, who are still on the same times. Cars coming out again for what will be their third runs of the session. If we can pick Casper Flack up, who's found 0.5 tenth in sector 1. Got to just keep eking out that time as we go around the lap. Second sector split, what are we going to be? Find any more time? Yes, another tenth found, just under 2 tenths up at the moment, and this should be challenging Vasquez at the top of the leaderboard in that RB/V-carb car. Very close to exceeding the track limits there. Coming round turn number 12. And through 14 we go. Keep your foot to the floor. Will this be provisional pole for Casper Flack? No, misses out by just under 200ths of a second. Big improvement, nearly 2 tenths found, and 11.2 will put you in position number 2 on the grid provisionally. Here's Talesborough. Was the provisional pole sitter early on, but has made a mistake as Diogo Silva joins back into the session. Talesborough will, you would imagine, be going again, but doesn't have a great deal of track space here, although Ghosting, of course, will... you're not going to get held up. Got Spanias in the Papaya. McLaren sat just behind us. Matthias now in the Sauber car, jumping up just inside the top 10 there. Another driver on a 1:11.4. How many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers sat on a 1:11.4. And it's Matthias who's got the best of those times at this stage. Sat in 9th at the moment. Nestled neatly just inside the top 10 there. Top 5 with 5 minutes to go is Vasquez ahead of Casper Flack. Marius Forman, who's just started a flying lap. Talesborough, who has made a mistake in that first sector again. Then ETA Paul, we're going to pick up going round the flat turn number 9 into turn number 10. Are we going to see an improvement from what was previously the Pink Panther car, now the Racing Bull in the position number 5, sat just behind his teammate. Did find a little bit of time in the first couple of sectors, so... we'll be looking for an improvement. ERS light flashing at the back of the car. Moustache in the pits, as is Casper Flack, so they're going to be waiting until the end of the session to go for one final bonsai lap. Is this going to be provisional pole for ETA? Paul needs to find a 10th. Some more time later on. Spanias has actually made a big improvement as well, jumping up into 4th there on a 1:11.2. You'd imagine that might be their final flying lap of the session. Can they get back and put a fresh set of boots on? We will have to wait and see in the remaining 4 minutes of this session so far. Nico, is this going to be an in-lap? I think it might be, because I think it was actually a very minor improvement for Nico. Yes, in 5th place still. Must have found about 0.5 tenth to consolidate that 5th position with the improvements found by ETA 2 behind. Even I had a really good couple of races. Had a bit of a struggle in Silverstone, it's fair to say. Then was really strong last week in Austria, and the week before in Miami, or 2 weeks ago, sorry, in Austria. And the week before in Miami was fairly competitive as well, but now almost reverting to the Silverstone performance, which is a little bit disappointing to see there, with Lacatu also picking up a couple of points in previous race. 18th and the slowest of the times so far is out on the circuit, along with Darth FIFA currently holding position number 13. Unlucky for some, hopefully it won't be unlucky for the driver of the Kick Sauber car, as they will be the first to set their final flying laps of the session, with the Alpine of Lacatu behind, and then I believe the Williams of Moustache. there'll be a little bit of concern maybe for the championship leader currently being in 8th place and just under 2/10 off the outright pace set by ET8 Paul. But you know, there's everything to play for in this final flying lap. We can see how close it is with this being a very short track. It's going to be very close. Anyway, top 18, everybody covered by just 0.6 of a second. That's nothing really. So the smallest of improvements could give you, as I accidentally bring up the spectator menu, the smallest of improvements could give you 4 or 5, maybe even 6 places. So got to be in it right until the end, and it's going to be Darth FIFA who will be the first driver to set their final flying lap of the session. We watched the first flying lap with the Kick-Sauber. We watched their second flying lap. We picked them up again for the final lap of the session. The Kick-Sauber, the green and lime car number, was that car number 44? No, 41. I was going to say, how can you get 44? That is the legend that is Lewis Hamilton's number coming round the long turn number 3. Those tyres are going to be screaming already tyre wear. We've got to watch out for that. Is it an improvement? No, 0.06 of a second down, a lock up to boot as well into turn number 4. Wrestling with that Kick-Sauber car through the first and now second sector as well. Another lock-up. I think the McLaren in front also locked up. Hashtag unleashed. Well, he's going to have to unleash the performance of this car through the middle sector. They've got to fly through turn 7 and 8, but avoid the sausage curbs that will spit you into the gravel and subsequent barrier on the exit. Flying around turn number 9 now. This has been a pretty decent middle sector. DRS rear wing flap open. Is it going to be an improvement? Are we finding time with the Kick-Sauber of Darth FIFA? Yes, excellent middle sector. Found 2/10 on their personal best, but a little bit wide and a little bit wobbly through turn 10 as well, and that will compromise the run through 11 and 12 and up towards the final couple of corners. Darth FIFA will be looking to get up towards potentially position number 5 and set a very decent benchmark for everybody to chase on their final laps of the session. Maybe a bit of a wobble around the final corner, but up to the line we go with Darth FIFA. Is it enough? It's only 8th place. We'll be a little bit disappointed with that. 1:11.2, solid time, only a 10th off pole position, but it's only at best going to be 8th place. We wait now for everybody else. It was the Alpines behind, I believe it was. Well, Lactu's off the road there, taking an interesting line over the green painted part, and that's going to be 18th and last, unfortunately. Who should we have a look at? Going around the final couple of corners is Carlitos over the line to start their flying lap. Casper Flack still on that lap. Same with ASRT Christian. Moustache starting their final flying lap as well. Tailspur's finding a little bit of time also, so could be challenging his team at ET8 Paul. Lactu's retired. We saw the Alpine off in the pickets on the right hand side. Will be starting 18th at best, probably 19th if Diogo Silva gets a lap in. Over the line we go with Tailspur. Does set provisional pole position. It's Red Bull 1-2 once again. 1:11.113. That is the time for everybody to chase. The Ferrari over the line, Diogo Silva to start the final flying lap for them in this session. Time's being set. Mario's Formula is only 4th. We'll be disappointed as Zane jumped up into 9th place as well. We've got, I think that was Nico off the road, or potentially Casper Flack. Casper Flack's off the road. ET8 Paul, though, has managed to eclipse the time set by his teammate by 0.5 and it's Red Bull 1-2 once again, with a completely different order as ET8 Paul snatches back pole position right at the death. What can Vasquez do? Starting their final flying lap of the session. No, they're done. Vasquez is done. Everybody came out slightly earlier in the session. We're waiting for the championship leader, Moustache, who isn't improving by a lot. The second McLaren Españas up into 3rd place. Nico's retired in the Mercedes. Casper Flack, we saw, made a mess of it going through turns 1 and 2. It's going to be Moustache, who is really the only contender to ET8 Paul's throne in this qualifying session. Round the final corner we go with the Williams. Surely, no, it wasn't exceeding track limits, but it's only 9th for the championship leader. Found not a lot of time and is only just inside the top 10. ASRT Christian over the line. Will they bump Moustache down? No, up to 11th, finds one position there. Matthias improves to go 13th. Unlucky for some. We're waiting for Owen in the second Aston Martin. His teammate made a mess of it going through turns 1 and 2. Can Owen jump up from only 15th at this stage? Diogo Silva's going to cross the line in the Ferrari for the one and only flying lap to go 16th. Owen to the line goes 8th. That means the championship leader starts only 10th, but it is Red Bull 1 and 2 with a McLaren, an RB and a McLaren behind. ET8 Paul ahead of Tails, but they were head and shoulders above the rest of the field for the majority of the session. It has to be said, Marius Formula retires in the pits, and that was a very exciting end to the session there. With ET8 Paul, he lost it right at the death. Tailspur came through. ET8 Paul snatched it back. The Pink Panther driver that we're going to call it, setting the not quite pink but purple sectors on that flying lap to take pole position, and will be absolutely delighted with that first pole of the season. We saw in Miami ET8 Paul managed to come from 19th on the grid with a quali band to finish in 3rd, so starting from 1st, I think people should be very, very worried. But spare a thought for Tailspur as well as we load into the final classification. Was pole after the first flying laps, managed to get it, thought they'd taken pole position, but then ET8 Paul by 0.5, snatching it back right at the death. There it is, Germany, Brazil and Cyprus, our top 3. Spanias just outside of a 10th there. Top 5 covered by Not a lot. Top 10 covered by just over 2/10. Championship leader be disappointed to be down there in 10th. Casper Flack also disappointed, didn't get the final flying lap in. Carlitos Owen, Nico Moustache ran at our top 10. Darth FIFA just outside ahead of Christian. Zane, Matthias, Yassir, Saki, Diogo Silva only set one flying lap, was disconnected a bit there. Sipala, even 9, and Lactu, the two Alpines, bringing up the rear, as they did in the first few races in real life until they got those upgrades and managed to take a bit of weight off the car. Now they are contenders for Q3. Before everybody gets confused, when everybody starts driving into each other like a classic F1 open lobby, this is going to... Actually, no, collisions are off, so that's not going to happen. They're just going to be flying into the walls. This is, of course, the faux start, shall we call it. Collisions are off. We're going to have a lobby reset, get that custom grid set. Obviously, it means that everybody gets their soft compound tyres back. Not sure how often we'll see the soft tyres, to be honest, because the tyre wear is going to be fairly high, especially the lows put through turn number 3 and the final sector in particular. But now we've got a little bit of downtime. We'll take the customary sip of water. And as I... finish that, people saying hello in the chat. Hello to everybody that has joined us for the end of qualifying. Got maybe 5 or so minutes to wait, unfortunately, as everybody for some reason puts their setups on. I don't know why they're doing that, because we're going to be quitting out of the session once again. But what we should do, we're not going to ignore this start, everybody. It's not real, don't worry about it. Just to shout out the sponsors, obviously GT Omega. They are main title sponsor. If you head over to their website, use the code PSGL, you can get yourself 5% off some of their products. I mean, why would you not want to do that? Look at everybody having fun there, spinning it out. It's going to be a race to see who can get disqualified the quickest. I think Even 9 won that battle. Also, Sim Racing Centre SLC, if you head over there for some driver coaching setups and strategical advice, use the same code PSGL to get 10% off. Very lovely indeed. Now, try and figure out who won the race. Everybody on medium tyres here. I think, at least. I can only see this Red Bull at the moment. Who won the faux race? We should probably keep track of who picks up the wins in these little false races. It was Talesborough who finished with a time of 18.531 seconds. That's very impressive. Zane somehow managed to pick up a corner cutting penalty, impressively enough. Who was the first to get kicked out? It was Even 9 in the Alpine. Started on the back row. Ends up in 19th. Well, we see this is our final result. I'd be incredibly surprised, it has to be said. Pulsator 88 Paul ending up in 9th. Can't really see that happening. Marius Formula 13th. The Moustache in 16th. If we have a look at where 88 Paul is in the Drivers' Championship, it was only scored in one race, but it happened to be the last to podium drive in Miami round number 2, which gives them 11 points and 7th currently in the championship. If we look at the constructors' standings, we can... it's difficult to tell because... nobody's actually been driving in their real cars until this week, but Williams currently lead the way. All of the lifting done by Moustache, the championship leader. They have 39 points, just one ahead of the Papaya outfit that is McLaren. They have 38. Marius Formula and Spanias, who has only scored once so far this season. That was a 6th place in the season opener. Then it is Aston Martin on 30 points. Casper Flack with the 2nd and 1st final flag for them. Thomas Covers also in there with a 9th place last time out in Austria. Then we've got Mercedes, bit of a jump back down to 21, and then a cluster of cars in the low teens. We've got Alpine and Red Bull on 11 and 14 respectively. Then we've got VCarb, RB and Ferrari on 5, Haas with 3, and Kick Sauber currently on 0 points. Hopefully they get off that, although in real life they're currently sat on 0 points, so wouldn't necessarily count against them finishing on 0, especially with the luck that, or the lack of, that should be luck, that Darth FIFA has been experiencing in the first 3 rounds thus far. So as we get the grid set, should be no longer than just a couple of minutes. Let's reflect on some fun Spanish Grand Prix. I think the last few races at Spain had a bit of a stigma of being a bit dull, Spain. I think that final chicane just really killed all the race. I remember 2020 was an absolute snooze fest. I think Lewis Hamilton won by about 8 days. People couldn't overtake because they were just losing so much time on the exit of the final chicane. 2021, though, we still had that chicane. It was that was a good one. That was Hamilton versus Verstappen. Verstappen was... ambitious in sending it up the inside into turn number 1, made the move stick, and then led almost the rest of the race. Mercedes pulling off a strategic masterclass. That 2-stop strategy, jumping into the pits, hunting Verstappen down and passing him late on. And then Verstappen doing his own little fight through the field. He was struggling with his DRS in 22, wasn't he? He was punching the lights out of the steering wheel and the button trying to get it to work. In the end, it was just that he kept pressing it about 65 times down the straight, which was the reason why it was opening and closing once again. Brilliant battle with George Russell. We had the Charles Leclerc engine blow up, which helped Verstappen take that, although I think he probably would have caught the Ferrari anyway. Sergio Perez did the Sergio Perez thing and just got out of the way, rolled out the red carpet for his teammate. 2023, it was very hot, wasn't it? I think Verstappen was down the field again, potentially. He had to do some overtaking because I think we had almost a 3-stop race. We had the McLarens before they got their upgrade going backwards. Lando making a complete mess of turn 1, driving into Lewis Hamilton. Good battle between Yuki Tsunoda, Zhou Guanyu, Nico Hulkenberg. And then this year, I think it was a fun one. We had Lando chasing down Verstappen. Ended up 2 seconds shy at the flag. Russell was in there as well, had a really good start. Took the lead early on, well, for one lap. Some battles with his teammate. The Ferraris were absolutely nowhere, which has been a bit of a theme the last few races, which is unfortunate because have a very lovely 4-team scrap out in front, minus Sergio Perez. I've clicked on the settings there. That was accidental. Hopefully the grid is going to be set any time now, and we'll see those beautiful green tick marks appearing on the right of screen. And we can get going for the 33 lap race. There's the first one. It's Moustache, the championship leader. He's ready to go. Come on, get on with it, lads. He's saying to them in some voice chat, potentially somewhere out there. But we are getting ready to go. Hopefully it will be less than 2 minutes. Depends how long it takes for everybody to load in. Who are we thinking of favourites? You've got to look at the 2 Red Bulls. Will there be some teamwork in there? That's the big question. Can the McLarens that are up there, Spanias and Marius Horner, both from Cyprus, the Cypriot nation, there should probably be some teamwork going on there as well if they're going to challenge the Red Bulls. It's almost like real life, although Red Bull in real life are driving with one car. The other one is labouring around a little bit further back, unfortunately, for Checo Perez. Nico looked quick. Obviously, we've got Moustache, Casper Flack, and Marius Formula. Zane was pretty quick. Vasquez is going to be one to watch, also quick throughout the entirety of qualifying. But the countdown has come down, ladies and gentlemen, and we're getting ready to go again. Nordic Ninja's here in the chat. Unfortunately, not racing this week. So hopefully Nordic Ninja doing well, my friend, as we're getting very close to getting underway for 33 laps. No formation laps, so we're just thrown right in at the deep end there. Get ready to go. Everybody loading in. Setups will be applied. Fuel loads will be adjusted. Strategies will be selected. I wonder how much of a split we'll see. Everybody, of course, with those brand new soft tyres, they're not good. I wouldn't think they're going to be a particularly amazing race tyre, the softs. But we'll have to wait and see. I think ET8 Paul, if anybody was just looking at the tyres there in the bottom right there in ET8 Paul's garage, I could swear they started as soft tyres and then switched to medium. So that could be drivers changing their strategies on the fly. At the end of the first lap, we'll try and get all the tyres up for everybody. We'll focus on the action. Yes, they've now gone to the white striped hard compound tyres. So I wasn't going crazy. They were the changing tyres in Max Verstappen's garage. So assuming the position that Max Verstappen, less so in the last few weeks, but for the majority of the last 4 years, has become very accustomed to. First place on the grid with his teammate alongside. How will the Red Bulls approach this run down into turn number 1? We've got 5 lights, and for the Spanish Grand Prix round number 4 of season 37, it is lights out, and away we go. Not a great start for Talesborough in second, could be under pressure from the cars behind. It is going to be ET8 Paul as Talesborough dives up underneath the rear wing of his teammate to get the slipstream. The McLaren's dueling behind with the RB of Vasquez. I think that is Marius Formula going a bit wide. Casper Flack trying to get involved. The two Red Bulls continue to lead us away ahead of Spanias and Vasquez dueling over third and fourth. This is a very tight scrap between two drivers on the medium compound of tyres. Down into turn number 4. Who's going to be braver on the brakes? A little bit of contact potentially as they both run a little bit deep. Yes, more contact as they bang tyres. We've got a yellow flag further back at a virtual safety car. An absolute car park involving Lakitu, the Williams and Sipala with no front wing. Yasis Saki's got involved as well. I think even Nye potentially was involved in that skirmish. We've got a virtual safety car. No damage for the second Alpine there, but crazy stuff there. We were watching the fight for that spot on the podium. Vasquez and Spanias getting very close together. Made contact a couple of times. But unfortunately, we've had a bit of an incident at the back of the pack. Yasisaki, I'm not sure if that RB has got damage. Is it the left front end plate? We can't quite see, unfortunately, because the Alpine's in the way and always driving into the back of him there. Is Yatisaki. No damage, definitely damage for the Williams of Sipala, who will be returning to the pits. But controlling the pace under the VSC Delta, ET8 Paul, exactly the start that they wanted. Tailspur didn't get a great launch, but managed to tuck underneath the rear wing of his teammate, get the slipstream. We're going once again, and Vasquez has been caught a little bit napping, as has Spanish and Casper Flack, thinking, thank you very much, I'm going to try and take advantage of this poor restart. Side by side we go, down into turn number 1 to start lap number 2. Is Vasquez going to defend the inside, because Casper Flack could be sending it up the inside into turn number 2 and gaining 2 places for the price of 1. Not quite. Vasquez holds on to 3rd place just about for the time being. Carlitos could start up into 6th ahead of Moustache. Casper Flack is not satisfied with 4th. He wants to get up onto the podium already, because he's going to send it up the inside of turn 4 as he thinks better of it. Bit of a lock up for the RB in front. Vasquez still very vulnerable at this stage. We come out of 4 and down the hill into turn number 5. Who's going to be braver on the brakes? Bit of a wobble for Casper Flack. Vasquez understeering, and that runs him out into the path of the Aston Martin and says, no, you are not coming through. The Williams and Moustache under pressure from Marius Formula. Good start from the championship leaders to get up into 7th ahead of one of his championship rivals. Bit of a wobble there as Nico and Darth FIFA debate 9th and 10th place there going through the chicane. They're going to continue that through the fast right-hander of turn number 10, and I think they're just going to keep it out of each other's way. Lockups are plenty for the cars in front. I think the Kicksal was going to hold on to this and knowing, maybe trying to duck underneath, as is the other Mercedes of Zane, almost 3 wide there as we come round turn number 10 and 11, but in the end Nico holds 10th place there ahead of the Mercedes and Aston Martin. Another yellow flag. I think Sipala has had a bit of a whoopsie further forward. DRS enabled ET8 Paul with the fastest lap. What is Tailspur going to do with the DRS here? Is it going to be attack or defence? And which Red Bull is going to be in the lead by the time we get down to turn number 1? I don't think Tailspur was close enough to make a move. We've got a Mercedes on the move further back, though. I think that may be Zane going up the inside of Owen. The Aston Martin coming under pressure, running off the road, and has got half a front wing, in fact, Owen there in the Aston Martin. You see, losing the right front end plate. Wonder if that was involved in the first lap skirmish that we saw. Managed to defend it very nicely and hold on to 11th place. Lockups again down to turn number 4, and Zane unable to get that position taken and will stay in 12th for the time being. Spanias close to the back of Casper Flack, who was very racy on the restart, wasn't he, trying to make up for that mistake made in qualifying. As we're going to chuck the tyres on everybody on the medium tyres. Everybody there on the mediums. Matthias in the pits and Sipala on the hards after that little whoopsie on the opening lap. Vasquez very close to the back of Tailspur. The two Red Bulls line astern going around turn number 10 at the moment, as ET8 Paul continues to lead from his teammate. You can calm down now because the tyres are on the screen. So have a bit of that, lads. Casper Flack is actually losing a bit of time there. Almost dropped out of the DRS range of Vasquez in front. That will be of concern, as Vasquez with the fastest lap there could be trying to challenge the charging Bulls out in front, who are going to swap places on the run down into turn number 1. Tailspur into the lead there. ET Paul does not fight that very hard at all. Vasquez a very willing spectator behind. Then it is Casper Flack ahead of Spanias. Lockups again down to turn number 1. Carlitos trying to defend from the championship leader of Moustache, who has made a good start from 10th on the grid up into 7th. Marius will be disappointed to have lost out to his championship rival in the opening couple of laps. Darth FIFA, thankfully for everybody's sake, his mainly is not in a barrier thus far after 3 laps completed. Owen still with that front wing damage, going very wide there through turn number 4, still under pressure from the Mercedes of Zane. Lockups again. The smoke is not very realistic, but I digress, and we continue to power through. Zane very close to the back of him. ASRT Christian hasn't had the best of starts, down in 13th, sat in that little queue behind the slightly wounded Aston Martin of Owen. Are we going to see swapping for position once again for the cars out in front? ET Paul, you would imagine, will try and get the lead of the race back. Oh, we're having some debates going on in the live chat there, interestingly enough. I think we are going to see the swap for the lead once again. These two Red Bull drivers, as we expected, are going to be working together. Casper Flack a bit closer than he was on the previous lap, but still only 5 or 6 tenths behind at this stage. Through goes E-Tech Ball, the pole sitter. Now the race leader once again as we start lap 5. Talesborough able to drop down into second place without coming under pressure from the RB of Vasquez behind. No real movements for position behind them. As I say that, Yasser Saki gets past the Alpine of Even Knight. That looks like a nice tasty battle, and it is the RB that comes out on top. Looks like he's taken a trip through the grass or the gravel somewhere because that tyre looked a little bit dirty, it has to be said. Spanias very close to the back of Casper Flack, whose pace at this stage doesn't look excellent, it has to be said. But yeah, under a little bit of pressure. We saw it in Miami actually with Casper Flack. Didn't have amazing race pace, wasn't able to keep up with the eventual winner, which was Marius Foreman, so that would be something in mind. But then had very good race pace last week in Austria, so maybe a consistency thing that needs to be worked on. As we wait, cars going all over the place there. I think Carlitos has made a mistake coming out of turn number 10, and Moustache and Marius Foreman say thank you very much, no invitation needed there, sir, as they follow through up into 6th and 7th place. Moustache's got to be careful, don't lose the DRS, and under huge pressure from Marius Foreman behind the two Papaya cars, putting a sandwich on the Williams at this stage as Moustache tries to catch up to Spanias after that mistake from Carlitos in the Haas, losing them a couple of spots there. We're going to see the switcheroo once again. We've had 3 for 3, but Vasquez is a lot closer this time. We could be 3 wide down to turn number 1, and both Red Bulls have got to be careful. There's some bumping and grinding there as one of them goes off the circuit. I think that was E-Tech Ball that got a bit of a shoulder barge from Vasquez trying to force that RB in the middle of the two of them, and they said no, you're not coming through there, my friend. And we've got to be very careful we don't have an aeroplane accident going down into turn number 1. The straights are not the places that you want to crash on, everybody. That's what we should bear in mind. Spanias and Casper Flack have managed to close up a little bit, and it's actually Moustache who hasn't made the progress that maybe we would have expected. We're still very much in the DRS range, and the pole sitter potentially just saving those tyres, sitting nicely and ominously for some drivers there in position number 6. Waiting for some carnage to ensue in front. We've already got a couple of drivers that are at risk of getting lapped in the coming few laps. We've got that Kicksale that's just crossed the line, then Sipala, who has had a few whoopsies over the course of the first 6 laps of this race. Vasquez, we saw, was very racy on the previous lap on the run down into turn number 1. Oh, we're going to see something similar from the RB trying to get involved with the Red Bull cars. We've got a yellow flag. I think we've got Owen in the Aston Martin, who did have front wing damage, has just lost a whole host of places down to 16th and now jumping into the pits. What's going to happen here is Casper Flack that's potentially on the move. Penalty for speeding in the pits. E-Tech Ball takes the lead. Casper Flack's up the inside of Vasquez. I think there may have been a bit of contact between Talesborough and Vasquez as the RB got sort of boxed in behind the two leaders, and with the Aston Martin charging up the inside of them, somehow managed to keep all of the front wing components intact, and we stay as we were from 3rd down into 5th with Spanias just sitting and waiting for a mistake, an over-ambitious move potentially from somebody in there, as the E-Tech Ball does reclaim the lead. The two Red Bulls working nicely at the moment, like a cycling race, the road race, each of them taking it in turns to lead. We've seen that very recently in the Olympic Games currently being held in Paris. Very exciting finish in the women's one, it was, wasn't it? I think Talesborough is going to be flying back past his teammate once again. The flip-flopping of positions, we're getting used to it. Pulling out of the slipstream and the dirty air there is Vasquez in 3rd. Bit of a lock-up there and a mistake. We've still got a yellow flag. I think that is Owen's car that's just retiring. That flashing up in the top left-hand corner is slightly frustrating, but I digress, and we continue on because Talesborough is very close and is once again probably going to take the lead down to turn number 1. Are we going to see the racy move from Vasquez once again as George Morgan says hello to everybody in the chat? Hello, George, the GOAT of the esports commentary. We are going to see this move for the lead once again. Casper Flack once again is very racy though, has to go around the outside. Vasquez almost runs into the back of E-Tech. Paul is under pressure, trying to force his way alongside of the Aston Martin of Casper Flack. He's had 2 or 3 attempts at this, and every single time he's failed to get back up onto the podium. Casper Flack will stay in 4th place for the time being. Not done with this, so trying to make a move around the outside into turn number 4. Vasquez is just late enough on the brakes to hold the inside and hold 3rd place for the time being. Just getting boxed in, really stuck at this stage, and Casper Flack looking for any opportunity to get past this RB and challenge the two Red Bulls in front, who continue to work together very nicely. Spanias as yet not making a move, with Moustache and Marius Foreman, the 2 championship leaders, now cruising up to the back of them. Everybody still in DRS range of each other until you get down to Lakitu in 16th. who was of course involved in that first lap collision that we weren't quite able to catch, but it did involve Lakatou Sapala and Matthias. Very late on the brakes there as Darth FIFA almost running into the back of Marius Formula, and Darth FIFA has managed to relegate Carlitos down one more position into 10th, and that into 9th, and that could be 10th because Nico is under significant pressure. Putting significant pressure, on the hat of Carlitos. Marius Formula very close to the back of Moustache here. We could potentially see a swapping for position in 6th and 7th, and Moustache might be about to fall out of the McLaren sandwich that he's in at the moment. ET8 Paul takes the lead back from his teammate. We've got to look further back though. Is Moustache going to be under pressure? He's actually putting Spanias under a little bit of pressure, but Marius Formula not with the straight line speed or potentially the battery usage, and will remain in 7th place for the time being, as even Nye jumps into the pits in the Alpine to put on the white striped hard compound tyres. Jumps very much out of the big DRS train that we got. Was that a Ferrari that just dropped out? Diogo Silva, yes, in 13th at the moment. 13th, certainly unlucky for him because he's lost the DRS to the group in front. Moustache and Spanias swapping places, though. It was a mistake for the McLaren down into turn number 5. Moustache lapping that up very nicely and gets ahead of Spanias. He's been waiting to do that for 3 or 4 laps. Just sat, waiting for a mistake, biding his time, and his time finally came. No invitation needed, and that is 5th place, and now can set his sights on a very racy looking Casper Flack, who's not had a particularly good lap either. Now 8 tenths off the back of Vasquez. Managed to close that down to 6 tenths through this twisty final sector. And once again, we'll have some deja vu from what we've seen in the previous couple of laps, because you can bet your bottom dollar what's going to happen. The two Red Bulls are going to swap places. Vasquez maybe a little bit closer this time and not under the same pressure that we had on the previous couple of laps with Casper Flack. And look at the straight line speed for Vasquez. He's now going to try and go up the inside of both of them. He tried to go down the middle previously. Now he gets the job done, but massive lockup, struggling to keep it within the track limits. It's going to be Tailsborough that fights this on the exit. Etic Paul's conceded the position, but Vasquez has managed to break up the Red Bull monopoly in first and second. He's now on the grass as he looks to take the lead from Tailsborough on the run down into turn number 4. Can't quite do it, but it was brilliantly bold and brave from Vasquez to get up into second place. He took a risk by standing up the inside of both of them. And in the end, ET8 Paul, who was the race leader, had to concede. It wasn't willing to potentially crash. Vasquez just about got that stop through the anchors on, just about keeping it within the track limits there. And now it's got to be under a little bit of pressure because that gap is nearly 6 tenths of a second. ET8 Paul is almost pushing Vasquez round these couple of corners here. This V-carb is making you nervous. Well, Vasquez pulling out all the moves here. You've got to be careful of Casper Flack, who has looked equally racy in the first 10 laps of this Grand Prix so far. People will be starting to think about their tyre wear, the tyre temperatures. When are we going to be coming in to make that first pit stop? We don't want to get caught out with the undercut. The two Red Bulls could be in a slightly sticky position. Same with the two McLarens. I wonder if Spanias will let his teammate go, considering Marius Formula is the one in the championship challenge. Vasquez close enough to make a move on Tailsborough down to turn 1. This time the Red Bull doesn't fight it, and Vasquez is now the race leader for the first time, apart from the very small amount of time we saw previously. That is Marius Formula bumping over the sausage curbs, went way too deep into turn number 1, loses 1 and 2 potentially places as Carlitos is side by side with the McLaren here. Darth Fifa's managed to get up into 7th place. Big mistake there from Marius Formula. I think just went way too deep into turn number 1, and it's going to be the master of his own downfall here if he does lose his place to the Haas of Carlitos. Lockups are plenty for the cars in front. Carlitos, I don't think is going to be able to hang it around the outside, and does not. So only one position lost there, but a big blunder. Nico trying to force a potential move around the outside of Carlitos there, unable to make it stick. Look at everybody still in the train here. The top 14 line astern, and we're on lap 11 of this race. This is PSGL for you folks. Very exciting stuff. Vasquez, your new race leader, but a little bit wide. And was there contact there from Tailsborough? He was much later on the brakes and almost ran into the back of the RB car down into turn number 10. ET8 Paul sniffing underneath the rear wing of his teammate. Casper Flack equally very close behind. I think there was a car ghosted just in the background. Hopefully that's not someone disconnecting, and that is the move being pulled by Casper Flack and by Moustache. Championship leader, 3rd in the championship and 2nd place in the championship, all into the pits. Tailsborough's going to get the lead back from Vasquez, who looks like an absolute sitting duck as ET8 Paul moves over to the left hand side, and Vasquez from 1st down to 3rd by the end of the straight. Nico's up the inside of Carlitos Mata down to turn number 1. Was there contact there? I don't think there was. Very close. Probably could have fit a piece of A4 paper between their two tyres there, but Carlitos just about holding on, and then they've got their teammates dueling it out behind them as well. Zane and Christian just inside the top 10 there, and then Diogo Silva, who thankfully for themselves has got themselves back within DRS range of everybody else. But that looked like a very late call for the drivers down there, as that is Under pressure, Zayn from Christian in 8th and 9th at the moment. Nico looking very slow coming off turn 5 there, potentially just bulking his teammate who's under huge pressure from ASRT Christian as he has been for the majority of this race now. Everybody is correct here. The leaders do need to come into the pits, but one of them is going to get hung out to dry here. It's probably going to be ET8 Paul unless he forces his way through. Still Christian trying to find a way round Zayn at the moment. Vasquez, you would imagine, is definitely going to come in. Same with Spanias. That was the drivers in 1st, 2nd and 3rd in the championship, all thinking the same thing. They're on the correct on the correct wavelength. It is ET8 Paul is going to be hung out to dry. Spanias opts to stay out as well, interestingly enough there. So Tailspot locking up into the box there, just about slam the anchors on to get that one stopped. And he's going to get a fresh set of boots on the white stripe hard compound tyres, obviously, and now we're going to wait to see how strong this undercut is. Rejoins into the path of the Mercedes, but the ghosting system means we can drive straight through them. We don't have to go under them or over them or around them. We just go straight through them like we're on a bear hunt. If people get that reference, that is incredibly impressive. Here we go though. Here is Casper Flack in the Aston Martin. How close are we? Well, we're not even close because he has got through, as has ET8 Moustache. The two ET8 boys now in the net, 2nd and 3rd. Vasquez was held in the pits a little bit. It's Tailspur who leads the way, net holding on to that position. Vasquez, the big loser, dropping behind Casper Flack and Moustache. And that, everybody, is the strategic gamble that has worked. Marius Fumo has been spat out, or Carlitos it should be, has been spat out into the path of Marius Fumo, and they continue their duel that they had before the McLaren came into the pits, but it is Marius Fumo who holds on to what is 9th place on the road. Darth FIFA also has benefited from that undercut there. Is now right on the rear of the RB of Vasquez. If it's that powerful, I think ET8 Paul and Spanish could be in a spot of bother here. Casper Flack is pushing very hard to keep up with the Red Bull of Tailspur. Into the pits comes the race leader. 2nd place is in. I'd imagine Zayn's going to be in as well in the Mercedes. They're going for the tyre offset. So you'd imagine come the end of this race, they are going to be considerably stronger. Here we go. Casper Flack is still within 1 second of Tailsbury, who hasn't managed to break on this outlap. The Aston Martin has just about kept the Red Bull in check. It's hovering between 7 and 8 tenths of a second. Then it's Moustache, Vasquez, Darth FIFA and Marius Foreman, who's almost dropped out of DRS range of that kick Sauber. Where is ET8 Paul? He's absolutely nowhere. There he is coming out of the pits. Going to be in 3rd, maybe even 4th. Depends how brave the Williams is around the outside. It's Moustache, almost runs off the circuit. ET8 Paul's going to fight it with very cold, hard compound tyres. Going to be battling all the way around turn number 3 and up towards turn number 4. This is a very important move for Moustache to pull off, and he does get it done. Championship leader up into 3rd place. ET8 Paul, the big loser from the pit stop window, was in the lead. Got caught out from being behind his teammate, dropped down into 4th on the road, could be 5th because Vasquez trying to swing it around the outside but can't quite get the traction, but gets a fantastic exit off turn number 5, round the outside of 7's not really a traditional overtaking point, as we can see from the 3rd person camera view there. Oh, that was almost very, very ballsy, it has to be said, from Vasquez, almost pushing him through the middle set. We've got a yellow flag. I think Sepala is facing the wrong way, coming out of turn 2 and onto the long turn number 3. There's a bit wide there, ET8 Paul. Those hard copper tyres still not up to temperature. It's going to be under pressure from Vasquez. Where is Casper Flack? 6 tenths of a second off the back of Tailspur. So the leader should be fairly comfortable. So should Casper Flack. Moustache half a second further back. And I think Vasquez was very wide there going round the final corner. Yeah, the yellow flags glitch has gone, everybody. Down the inside, we go into turn number 1. Vasquez up the inside of ET8 Paul, and there's contact, not for the first time this race, and bouncing over the sausage curbs goes the Red Bull car. Sniffing around the outside is Darth FIFA in the kick Sauber, but it is Vasquez who barges his way through, gets past the ET8 Paul, and now he's under pressure from the kick Sauber, Darth FIFA. He's retired from the last 2 races, very wide there as ET8 Paul rolls out the red carpet, in fact, because Darth FIFA is going to swoop up the inside. Is ET8 Paul going to fight it up the inside into turn number 5? He is, but he's going to get squeezed right over to the inside. Yellow flag out, and even Naya's out of the race. That could be a safety car because they're off in the gravel at turn number 4. Through goes Darth FIFA and ET8 Paul, losing out big time there from 4th down into 6th. Well. What are the stewards going to think of that? It was aggressive from Vasquez, but he had to be. ET8 Paul bouncing over the sausage curbs and was just a passenger really. Through went Darth FIFA, has driven a brilliant race, to be fair, as well. Up into 5th now. Even now, the second retirement of this race, joining Owen in the Aston Martin on the sidelines. Tailspur still leading the way, comfortably clear of Casper Flack, so not going to be under pressure on the run down into turn number 1. It's probably Vasquez, who's 7 tenths off the back of Moustache with the kick Sauber of Darth FIFA close behind this RB. But ET8 Paul will be, well, he'll be absolutely seething Steam will be coming out of his ears. He's going to want to get this position back ASAP. Sends it up the inside of turn number 1. I think Darth FIFA is going to fight this. Yes, they do, and they're going to continue to be side by side around the long right-hander of turn number 3. I think ET8 Paul has just got enough of his car ahead and will get 5th position back. He'll be delighted because he's now going to chase after Vasquez. These two have been knocking 10 bells out of each other for the first 16 laps of the race. You would imagine, as we're only at half distance, they are going to continue to do so up until we reach the end of lap 33. What a moment that is, though. Darth FIFA locking the rears, sliding his way around turn number 5 and loses 2 positions to the 2 McLarens there. And from what was looking very positive, potentially thinking about getting up into 4th, Darth FIFA has undone all of his good work in the opening 16 laps and is thrown back down into 8th place there. And it could be 9th because Nico in the Mercedes very close behind as well. I'm going to have to get a glug of water very shortly. Probably do it in the first sector when the carnage has already unfolded down into turn number 1. We're getting some very good racing action. I think Spanias could be under pressure from his teammate, it has to be said. Marius Moore very close to the back of him. ET8 Paul has now got his eyes firmly set on Vasquez here. He'll be sniffing an opportunity to get back up into 4th and also enacting a little bit of revenge, you would imagine, but I don't think it's going to be close enough. Zane sets the fastest lap of the race in 12th, stayed out longest of the drivers in this queue, but I don't think anybody is close enough to make a move there. Casper Flack did get pretty close to the back of Talesborough, was just under 0.2 of a second, but with the dirty air through turns 1 and 2, unable to get close enough and will drop a little bit further back. Just biding his time, you would imagine. We can have a look at the battery charge as well. That is almost full, 94% for Casper Flack, who will surely be mounting an assault on the race leader very, very soon. Talesborough, of course, had that win taken away not last week. It doesn't feel like that long ago. Austrian Grand Prix. Talesborough crossed the line first, coincidentally half a tenth ahead of Casper Flack. They were drag racing out of the final corner on the run up to the line. Had it taken away courtesy of an incident between himself and Even Knight earlier on. Casper Flack, the beneficiary, of course, taking the race win. Talesborough was kicked all the way down into, I think it was 8th place there. Those 12 points, or 15 points, sorry, ending up only being 3. I'll be hoping for some retribution. I don't think retribution is necessarily the right word, but we'll be wanting to right the wrongs of that race. ET8 Paul in the second Red Bull, much closer to the back of Vasquez as Spanias sets the fastest lap of the race. Is this going to be the potential grudge match continuing? Is Vasquez going to defend it? ET8 Paul doesn't even go for the move up the inside, and Moustache almost getting rear-ended by the RB there because Vasquez was arriving at such speed he almost shunted the Williams off the road into turns 1 and 2, and he would have been bouncing over the sausage curbs. Is this an opportunity? Sniff potential by ET8 Paul because Vasquez was slow going through turn number 3, trying to go around the outside. He tried to sell him the dummy, but he didn't buy it, Vasquez, and holds on to 4th place for the time being. But now the launch up the inside of turn number 5, he's caught him napping. I think he's going to take the place. Contact once again between the two of them. Vasquez are going to try and hold it on the outside. Bit of a barge there as ET8 Paul makes his feelings firmly clear to the RB he's just managed to get through, and it is ET8 Paul finally up into 4th place. I think this grudge match that it is becoming is going to continue for some while longer. The two McLarens close behind them as well. Yasir Saki picks up the first corner cutting penalty of the race, currently outside the top 10, so if it stays as it is, that will drop him all the way down into I'll say all the way down, he'll only lose a couple of places there because ASRT Christian has dropped off the back of the train. ET8 Paul, though, he's on the move, he's in the groove, and he's potentially sensing an opportunity to get back on the podium because he's once again close to the back of another car going around the final corner. This time it's the Williams of Moustache, but Moustache, we've seen it in previous races, has been fairly quick in a straight line. It's actually Casper Flack who's very close to the back of Tails, but once again opts to stay just behind, almost pushing him through turn number 1. And we are, as we were, remaining the status quo through the first couple of corners. Still Talesborough, Red Bull, Aston Martin, Williams, Red Bull, RB, your top 5 with the two McLarens lurking just behind. Carlitos has lost that position to Nico. They were very close a few laps ago. The Mercedes has managed to get through, but Carlitos still just inside the top 10. And not under pressure from Yasir Saki with that penalty, but Zane, with a lap fresher, hard compact tyres, should be the driver that these guys in the second half of the top 10 need to worry about. As this big DRS train continues all the way down to Diogo Silva, who's getting very close to actually dropping off the back of it. ET8 Paul, certainly with the bit between his teeth at this stage, was hurt by the pit stop window, hung out to dry because he was behind his teammate, then getting bumped down the order, fell as low as 6th place after the contact with Vasquez, muscled his way back through. Vasquez has actually dropped a little bit further back, and ET8 Paul is closer to the back of Moustache than he was on the previous lap, and the two ET8 drivers might be about to trade places on the run down into turn number 1, but Moustache once again is quick in a straight line. This is actually Vasquez who's coming under pressure further back. Spanias with a move up the inside. Vasquez very late on the brakes and manages to hold off the assault from the McLaren behind. Excellent defensive driving from the RB, who holds on to 5th place for the time being. That was the first opportunity that Spanias has had going defensive is Vasquez, although Spanias very much not close enough there. Further forward, ET8 Paul up the inside of Moustache though, and I think the Williams is going to repel that assault. Also is going to have the inside line on the run down into turn number 5. I don't think ET8 Paul's going to quite have the grip or the momentum to hold it all the way around the outside, but respectful racing there actually. Room is given, and ET8 Paul's going to have an opportunity through the kink of 6, backs out of it through turn 7. It's not a move you want to be making around the outside, and will stay in 4th place. But ET8 Paul making his intentions very, very clear. He wants to get up onto the podium. He wants to win this race still, and I wouldn't put it past him with still 13 laps remaining in this session. Who's still in there? Marius Formula needs to make up some ground. Still only 7th at the moment. His championship rivals currently sat in 2nd and 3rd, and a bit wide there through turns 11 and 12. The Kick Sauber Darth FIFA got close, but definitely not close enough to think about an audacious lunge. He's got to get past his teammate, you would imagine, Marius Formula, and get up into the ET8 Paul, ET8 Moustache, Vasquez scrap in front of them. Are we going to see any positions changing hands? Vasquez does look a little bit slow in a straight line there, but Spanias not as close as they were on the previous flying lap, so we will remain as we were with Tersper leading Casper Flack and Moustache, and I think this is all going to be leading up to a climax on the final couple of laps. Got a yellow flag once again. It's an Alpine going slowly as that yellow flag now clears. I think that was Lacatu having a bit of a whoopsie in the final set. ET8 Paul still sniffing for any opportunity to force a way past this Williams and Moustache. Wasn't able to do it on the run down into turn number 1, looking for the smallest of opportunities, because if he sees it, you can bet your bottom dollar he's going to take it and try and force his way back onto the podium. But at the moment, after that attack was once again repelled into turn number 5, not close enough with the DRS down into turn number 10, and they'll be just recharging the battery, planning for the next assault. Obviously, unless we have a safety car, touch wood, we don't. It is a green flag to the end of the race. No more pit stops. They'll be taking these hard tyres all the way to the checkered flag. Casper Flag's a little bit closer to Talesborough than they have been on the previous lap. The gap is just over half a second. ET8 Paul once again close to the back of Moustache. I think this is the opportunity that the Red Bull's going to seize, using the slipstream and the DRS to fly past the Williams up into 3rd place. Moustache can't fight it. I'll tell you what's going on in front there. There was contact between Casper Flack and Talesborough. I think it was the Aston Martin sending a late move up the inside of the race leader. No damage, I believe, there for the Aston Martin. Certainly no cosmetic damage, but that could have been a very, very sketchy moment. Vasquez is now up the inside of Moustache. There's barely enough room for a car on the inside of turn number 4, but just about they managed to avoid contact. Spanias thinking about a switch up the inside, almost locks the rears and does what Darth FIFA did on the previous a few laps ago. We have got a yellow flag now, so Williams, no, it's an Alpine that's dropped it. Darth FIFA's also made a mistake or has been disconnected from the session, because that is a ghosted car. Unghosted now. But yeah, that was a weird moment. We were watching ET8 Paul fly past the Williams and Moustache, cut off board, and then we saw the what looked like carbon fibre flying when Casper Flack tapped the back of Talesborough. It could have just been a little visual glitch, but they were both certainly slowed up. ET8 Paul, as I said a couple of laps ago, has certainly got the bit between his teeth now. He can sense a huge opportunity to get back into the lead of this race. Casper Flack potentially vulnerable. Was it a desperate attempt to try and get up the inside of Talesborough to get the lead of this race and try and control the pace of this pack that has now been reduced to just 12 cars? Are we going to see any moves down into turn number 1? As my voice absolutely fails me there. Casper Flack remaining in 2nd place ahead of ET8 Paul. Moustache sat just behind them. Once we go through this corner, I think it's going to be safe for a second glug of water off the stream. No audacious dive bombs being sent at this stage. We will wait to see who will be the next to make a lunge, make an attack on the driver in front, or who will make a mistake, because we've seen a fair share of those. Darth FIFA has been the big one, it has to be said. Was running 5th just after the pit stop window, made one mistake, fell back down to 8th. That is Vasquez very wide though. Hopefully we don't see an overtake. Glug of water coming. Oh, contact further back is Zane and Darth FIFA. We had a massive squirrel on from the kick Sauber. I just managed to catch it. Thankfully, it didn't spit the water everywhere. It's the Mercedes thrown into the wall. No front wing. Darth FIFA caught out as well. Oh, that was an interesting one. No damage by the looks of it there for the Kick Sauber car. Zane is certainly wounded after that little skirmish, though. Look at this further forward, though. Casper Flack has got ET8 Paul right on the back of him. It hasn't been a Red Bull 1-2 for a number of laps. Is this the opportunity? Well, Casper Flack, maybe attack is the best forward defence. He's almost boxed in with the two Red Bulls way together. He's managed to force his way around the outside. There is the inevitable contact that we thought we saw a couple of laps ago. Casper Flack drifts his way around turn number 1 to take the lead after the contact with Tails, where the Red Bull swap places as well as ET8 Paul gets past his teammate and up into second place on the road. We've got a Kick Sauber going very slowly over on the right-hand side of the track. ET8 Paul potentially thinking about a move up the inside of Casper Flack. This race has just absolutely exploded in the space of 30 seconds. Moustache now trying to send it around the outside of Telsborough, who is wounded after that contact with Casper Flack. The momentum's been lost, and now it's Telsborough dropping off the podium as Moustache. Now he's wide again. Vasquez maybe thinking about a move, couldn't quite do it. Casper Flack tried to go around the outside. I wasn't quite able to tell if he turned in on Tails, but there was certainly contact. Casper Flack drifted his way around turn number 1, managed to keep it within the white lines. There was just the two Red Bulls duelling for position behind them. We've got a massive cluster of cars because Tails was really struggling here. Has he got a bit of damage? Vasquez trying to go up the inside. The two McLarens chomping at the bit to get involved as well. One of whom was Marius Formula, who was second in the championship coming into this race. We could have a change in hands for the lead further forward as well. We've got to be careful of that ET8 Paul on the back of Casper Flack. All of his Christmases have come as once here because he's going to get the lead back here on the start of lap number 25. Absolutely crazy. Somehow everybody behind is going to remain in the order they were, and we can try and get some air back in my lungs, because I inhaled very heavily there when that contact was made. Yellow flag because I've got a Kick Sauber. I mean, going off to Narnia by the looks of that in the final sector. Not sure what racing line that was, but should be returned to the pits to retire. I believe that is Darth FIFA, or no, it's going to be Matthias down in. Oh no, it is Darth FIFA, and Darth FIFA for the third race in a row is out of the session. Hugely unfortunate. Was looking so good. 5th position at one stage, now out, and that is once again 0 points for the Kick Sauber driver. Some respite on this lap. We've had 50 seconds of just a bit of calmness. ET8 Paul getting the lead from Casper Flack. We had a big gaggle of cars because Tailsborough was just starting to get going once again after losing those 3 places. Almost conceding a position to Vasquez. The two McLarens were trying to get involved also, but now Tailsborough firmly on the assault once again because he's managed to close right up to the back of Moustache, who could be a little bit vulnerable down into turn number 1 as we start lap 26. We're coming into the business end of the race here. Casper Flack has got Moustache very close behind the Williams, now looking like he's burning some ERS. Is he? No. It's going to be Casper Flack up the inside of ET8 Paul though. Are they going to make contact? Casper Flack has made contact with 2 Red Bull cars so far. Is he going to make it a third? Made contact with Vasquez, made contact with Tailsborough. This time doesn't make contact with ET8 Paul, and we continue to stay in first and second. Carlitos and Yasir Saki. We've got a couple of drivers losing places. Marius Formula has lost a whole host of places, down to 10th now, batting with Carlitos. Yasir Saki's up into 8th place now, and something has really desperately happened to Marius Formula there, down in 8th place now. Zane's into the pits for the soft compound tyres. We didn't quite catch it. Tailsborough putting pressure on Moustache once again, unable to get that position done, unable to get that overtake done, sorry, and Moustache still holding 3rd place. But this train has now been dispersed slightly because of what I can only imagine was contact between Nico and Marius Formula down into turn number 1. Yasir Saki was battling to get involved. Carlitos was just nestled inside the points. And then Diogo Silva's a further 3 seconds back. Zane must have got caught up potentially with Darth FIFA. That's why they came into the pits. And, well, I was going to say round 2. Round number 27 in the battle for the lead. It's going to be Casper Flack. ET8 Paul does go defensive this time. Moves over to the middle of the circuit. Is going to concede the lead. And the Aston Martin gets through without contact this time. And ET8 Paul is down into 2nd place. Moustache very close behind. Then the 2nd Red Bull of Tailsborough, who will still be desperate to try and get back up onto the podium. And a little bit wide there is Moustache. Potentially an opening served out to Tailsborough, but the Red Bull not quite with the momentum and the distance to get alongside that Williams to get back up onto the podium. Vasquez is still there. Spanias is still there also. And Nico, Marius Formula, Yasir Saki and Carlitos just about closing up to the back of that group once again. Lap 27 though. Who's going to win this race? I have absolutely no idea. It's flip-flopped so many times. I think we've had 5 different race leaders at this stage. All of the top 5, I believe, have led the race, although Moustache potentially hasn't led the race, actually. So 4 of the top 5 have led this race. We haven't seen a lot from Vasquez in this second stint on the hard tyres. Just been boxed in a little bit. Casper Flack going to be under pressure once again. ET8 Paul decided to defend on that previous lap. Is Casper Flack going to do the same, or is the flip-flopping of positions just going to continue? Are we going to stay over to the left-hand side? Yes, we are, and ET8 Paul is going to fly past. Got to be careful of Moustache just behind them, though. And we do stay as we were behind. And ET8 Paul is once again your race leader. Ahead of Casper Flack, Moustache, Telsborough and Vasquez. Spanias very close to them as well. Nico struggling to maintain that delta of 1 second there in Mario's Formula. I mean, I'm not sure what happened to Mario's Formula, but just was unable to make any progress. Caught up behind his teammate, who in turn was caught up behind the group in front. As Vasquez still looking for any opportunity. We've got some ghosting going on there. Bit of lag involved. There's a couple of drivers ghosting through each other. But it is still ET8 Paul from Casper Flack. That is the Mercedes of Nico going very wide through the flat turn number 9. Might not be flat at this stage on these worn hard compound tyres, and especially with the dirty air. Telsborough a little bit wide. Vasquez sensing an opportunity potentially to mount another assault on this Red Bull. Sipala has retired from the race. We've got a safety car. Wow! Everybody surely is going to dive into the pits. It's a very late call. Casper Flack's going to try and overtake ET8 Paul into the pits. Telsborough is going to get caught up behind his teammate in the box. The two McLarens aren't going to be helped by this either. It was Sipala who dropped it, I'm guessing, on the sausage curb coming out of turn 8, and that has thrown a spanner in the works, certainly. We've got a very, very late safety car. We're going to get, what, 2 laps of racing action? It's going to be a very, very aggressive sprint to the finish on the soft compound tyres. And remember, these are all brand new soft compound tyres. We had the lobby reset. Everybody's got fresh soft. Telsborough, for whatever reason, has put the medium tyres on, and he's lost so many places getting caught up behind his teammate. Mario's Formula also has lost ground. Wow. The double stack has certainly cost them. Telsborough's on mediums? Mediums? I mean, I'm surprised by that. I really am. Maybe just forgetting to change the tyres. I'm not sure, but everybody else managed to do it. He was in 4th place, down in 8th. Mario's Formula is not going to be second in the championship any longer if it stays like this. Down in 10th. It's just been a really difficult race for Mario's Formula to make any real progress. This is going to be fun. Everybody that has stuck it out, thank you everybody for staying. We've got some debates going on in the live chat at the moment that I've been reading for some entertainment in the down moments that we have had. The current order is this. The top 3 are as we were before that very, very late safety car came out. Oh, is that... no. Okay. We can all calm down. It was just a bit of lag for Casper Flack. I thought he dropped it under the safety car, threw it into the wall, did a George Russell Imola 2020. That's not the case. It is ET8 Paul from Casper Flack and Moustache. Vasquez is up into 4th, courtesy of that, the pit stop problems for Tails for being caught up behind his teammates. Spanias is 5th, then it's Nico, Carlitos, Telsborough on the mediums. This doesn't help Yasisaki either with a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. Most likely he's going to get bumped out of the points paying positions. And then Mario's Formula as Telsborough's coming in again. Telsborough's coming in again for what I can only imagine will be soft tyres. I almost think, I mean, you've put the mediums on, you might as well, you've made your bed, you've got to lie in it, my friend. I think that has completely ruined any opportunity of getting points. He's quick enough. He's quick enough to hold on to these positions over 3 laps. I just feel like he's either made the mistake or made the decision. You've got to stick with it. You've got to guts it out. Unfortunately for Telsborough, he's thrown himself completely out of contention. He's now down in 14th. That's effectively last because Matthias is 55 seconds off the back of the pack. But, I mean, what a blunder to make. Telsborough can't buy a bit of luck. Whether it was just a mistake, accidentally forgetting to set the tyres to softs, had the victory taken away post-race last time out in Austria after contact with Even Nye, had contact late on in the race as well in Silverstone. Dropped a couple of places there. It's just not working out for Telsborough, and his 14th points very much not on the agenda for that second Red Bull Is the safety car going to come in this lap? We saw in Miami 3 weeks ago, I think it was, there was a driver that stayed out, and the safety car, bit of lag there again, the safety car did stay out. Now, we have to get 2 laps of racing, so the safety car, if it doesn't come in this lap, it will most definitely come in on the next lap. If it is going to come in now, it's going to be a very, very late call, and ET8 Paul is not going to have a lot of time to back the pack up. But I think as Telsborough has actually passed Lactu, so that Alpine has made a mistake. The safety car is not coming in, and we are going to have another lap of boring running around the track under yellow flags. Which is a shame. But I digress, because we're going to have 2 laps of what is hopefully going to be absolutely chaotic sprint racing. Everything on the line. ET8 1, 2, 3, as people are now starting to point out in the chat. Vasquez, can he disturb the ET8 dominance that we've got at the moment? Spanias, what can that McLaren do? The one remaining McLaren that's in contention. Nico, haven't seen a lot of Nico so far this race. It's just been sat in the lower reaches of the top 10. Can he make a charge for the podium late on, especially if there's some contact in front? Carlitos, Yasisaki, not really it. Mario Silva, way too much work to do. And Diogo Silva, who's not really had the pace in this race, will probably be delighted to pick up a couple of points. Telsborough, though, my head is in my hands, because it's a huge, huge shame. It's one of the drivers that would have been contending for the lead on this restart, taken out of the picture. And we are going to have a sprint finish. ET8 Paul started on pole. He's had to work incredibly hard to get himself back into first place. There's been a bit of contact in there with a few drivers as well. Casper Flack has demonstrated he's willing to fight tooth and nail for this victory. Moustache hasn't really been involved in too many skirmishes. The safety car is in this lap. Everybody get ready. We're going to have a drink of water for the final time today. And we'll get ready to go. In the 30 seconds we've got, make sure you check out the 2 sponsors of PSGL, everybody. GT Omega and Sim Racing Centre. If you use the code PSGL, you can get yourself 5 and 10% discounts respectively. Who wouldn't want to go over there and get some incredible racing equipment or some tips, setups and strategies? Here we go though. 2 laps to decide the winner of the Spanish Grand Prix. And look at that, ET8 Paul backing them up. And he is bolted, and Casper Flack caught up a little bit by that behind. And it's going to be Moustache on the offensive on the run down into turn number 1. No DRS enabled. It's the Williams on the assault. Vasquez, you would imagine, is going to try and get involved as well. Pulling over to the left-hand side, the right-hand side, sorry, is Casper Flack. Moustache going to have to go the long way around into turn number 1. Can't quite get that Williams alongside enough. Vasquez staying behind. Christian picks up a corner-cutting penalty there. Bit laggy at the moment. Come on, servers. Come on, servers. You can work hard enough to deliver us the final 2 laps of this race. Moustache close to the back of Casper Flack. Vasquez close to the back of Moustache, but unfortunately for those guys, unable to make a move at the moment. ET8 Paul looking comfortable out in front. Half a second the margin. Casper Flack is off the road, but that's going to be a little bit more lag. That's infuriating. Marius Foreman's managed to force his way past Yasisaki, who's dropping places like a stone at the moment because Diogo Silva's through. SRT Christian, both of these drivers have penalties. Zane is probably going to be the beneficiary, jumping up into 10th place at the finish of this race. But I think it's not actually going to be as exciting as we were hoping. No DRS for these guys, apart from down the straight coming out of the high-speed turn number 9. Casper Flack is not really close enough. It's going to be Vasquez. They're going to have to make a move on Moustache for a change in hand for the ET8. Dominance out in front. We start the final lap of the Spanish Grand Prix. ET8 Paul leading the way. DRS enabled. They're not going to be able to use it down this straight. Is Spanias maybe thinking about a move on the RB in front? Not close enough. Camaris formerly used the slipstream and maybe a bit of battery to get close to the Aston Martin. Not quite, and we're going to stay as we were. Unfortunately, the safety car restart, we didn't quite get the action that we were hoping for. Unfortunately, Marius Former sat in 8th there, and Telsborough has left the session down in 15th now. I think that is a rage quit and a give up. Unfortunately, huge disappointment for Telsborough. A win potentially snatched from his grasp. ET8 Paul is absolutely flying, and to be fair, Casper Flack, we have got 1 DRS straight down into turn number 10. If Moustache is close enough, we could see a potential flip for position number 2 here. Moustache is very close coming through turn number 9. Casper Flack, you would imagine, is going to have to go defensive here. Dumping the ERS is the Williams Moustache. Is it a look up the inside? No, it is not. And we're going to stay in 2nd and 3rd as we were. And I have to say, it's been a little bit of a disappointing safety car restart. We were going to get some pretty decent action if we didn't have that safety car, and unfortunately we're going to stay as we were. But ET8 Paul doesn't care. It's been a brilliant performance, had to work for it, qualified on pole, was flipping and flopping with his teammate earlier on, contact with a couple of drivers, but it's ET8 Paul who wins the Spanish Grand Prix. Casper Flack leaves Moustache home to complete an ET8 podium lockout, sorry. That was disappointing. I think we can all agree on that. A bit of an anticlimax of a finish. If we didn't have the safety car, I think we could have had some very exciting stuff there with the DRS, and everybody was still very close together. But it is, for the second race in a row, an ET8 1, 2, 3, just some different drivers in there. But ET8 Paul, that right there, you can see it there, doesn't tell the whole story. First to first, but he had to work for it. Got called out in the pit stops, had some contact with Casper Flack, contact with Vasquez, worked his way back through, and then completely dominated the final couple of laps. Was comfortable on the restart to win. Casper Flack, another podium, and ET8 Moustache in third. The championship leader would extend the championship lead, courtesy of Casper Flack finishing just ahead, but the critical one is Marius Foreman, who we'll come on to. Vasquez drove a solid race, got very much stuck in. Spanias also dropping from third down to fifth. Nico Carlitos, Mario's Formula, the big disappointment. Diogo Silva and Zane complete our top 10 there with the fastest lap, and an extra point for the Mercedes. Yasser Saki and Christian just outside. Matthias Lakitu, and then the guys that didn't quite finish. Talesborough, Sipala crashed late on. Darth FIFA continuing to struggle for luck. Even Nye and Owen. That is your Spanish Grand Prix, ending soured a little bit, it has to be said, by the late race safety car that we saw. But I think for the first, what was it, 30 laps maybe, 29 laps, we saw some very, very exciting stuff. Some good battles, some strong battles, a bit of aggression from some drivers in there as well. And all in all, a solid race as well. And I think people will be satisfied with their work, none less than ET8 Paul. But that is it. Thank you everybody for watching. Let's just have a quick check on where we will be racing next week for what is round number 5. We'll be heading to... That is the wrong thing. Calendar. We'll be heading to the Hungaroring. So Monaco without the barriers, they call it. That would be an interesting one. That would be probably a very sweaty one. I think people will be taking that very, very seriously. Thank you everybody for watching. It's been a pleasure. Make sure you check out GT Omega and Sim Racing Centre in the description. I've been Tom. Thank you everybody for joining us. Go ahead and get on board with the Tier 1 stuff. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye.